So what if a huge number of the things that we do to try to enhance our image in this world are actually unknowingly making us less happy? So I was just re-listening to an interview I did with a professor named Dan Ariely on my podcast. And you might have seen Dan out there. He's got a couple TED Talks that both have millions and millions of views. He's written multiple New York Times best-selling books. But the thing you would notice, you would probably remember about him, is that he only has half a beard. Like, his beard starts here and it just wraps over half his face and the other half is bare. So he told the story on the podcast of how that came to be. He was burned when he was younger. And he's like in his 50s now. He was burned in his 20s. And so for decades, or for years at least, I don't remember exactly what the age was, he shaved. He would just shave. In his terms, he said, I would shave to make myself more symmetrical. That way I wouldn't have to explain my weird half beard. Kids wouldn't point and stare, blah, blah, blah. It just made life easier. So then he goes on this long hiking trip on a vacation. He's out in the mountains for days, comes back, off the mountain, and he's grown basically half a beard. And he decides, I'm going to keep my half beard just for a couple weeks, like till I feel like shaving it, sort of as a memento of this really cool wilderness experience that I had. And he said that he wasn't expecting that people started telling him that how much they appreciated him keeping his half beard, because it was helping them feel more comfortable with their injuries or their disfigurements or handicaps or whatever, and not feeling so self-conscious. So then he decided to keep the half beard because he realized that it was having a positive impact in the world. But what he shared was that months later, he realized that the way he felt about his own disfigurement and his own injury was changing because he was allowing it to be seen. And that was when he realized that prior to growing it out, every time he shaved, in his mind, he was hiding his disfigurement, right? And so it got me thinking, how much of what we do every day do we think is this very reasonable way of trying to change how we appear to the world? Not because we're necessarily, injured or handicapped or disfigured, but just because all of us, want to manage the impression we make to the world, right? And a lot of us carry baggage of like, well, I grew up without any money, and so I'm gonna go make a lot of money so that, because I don't want to perpetuate the cycle of poverty, or I grew up getting picked on a lot, so I'm going to become successful and powerful and important so that I don't get picked on, or I don't feel vulnerable or weak in the world. And we live our life to compensate for our various types of injuries, in a sense. What if we stopped doing that and it turned out that, just like Dan, months later, those things didn't have so much power over us?